Did you know that just a single bowl of white rice can spike your blood sugar by up to 70% after one meal? But here's the scary part. 90% of people with diabetes are eating rice the wrong way without even realizing it. Today, I'm Dr. David Mitchell, and with 30 years of experience working with people over 50, I'm going to share 5 super simple rice hacks. Just a few tweaks while cooking your rice, and you can significantly lower post-meal blood sugar, reduce bloating, and improve digestion. And the best part, you don't have to give up rice. Just make a few small changes, and your body will thank you every single day. But before we dive in, make sure to like this video, hit the notification bell so you don't miss future tips. And don't forget to subscribe to Strong, Healthy Way for more practical support in your fight against diabetes. Now let's get started with the first hack. 1. Soak your rice before cooking. After more than 30 years working with patients over 50, I've noticed something fascinating. Sometimes the smallest changes in the kitchen can bring the biggest improvements to your health. And the first thing I want to share with you today is how we soak our rice before cooking. Sounds simple, right? But in reality, this is a habit that many doctors around the world quietly encourage their patients to do every single day. I remember one of my patients, Miss Amelia, 67 years old. She said to me, David, I don't understand why just changing the way I cook rice makes my stomach feel so much lighter, and I don't feel sleepy after meals anymore. I just smiled because I've seen this happen countless times. When you soak rice for about 30 to 60 minutes in warm water, the rice starts to wake up. The natural enzymes in the grains are activated, making the rice much easier to digest. And more importantly, this soaking process reduces a compound called phytic acid, the very thing that can block your body from absorbing essential minerals like calcium, iron, and magnesium. For older adults, these minerals are as precious as gold. I often tell my patients to think of soaking rice as giving your meal a little breath back. Just rinse the rice a few times, soak it gently in warm water, and leave it for about half an hour. Don't soak it too long because bacteria can start to grow after a few hours. Then cook it as usual. Nothing complicated. But here's the magic: you'll feel the difference immediately. Your stomach feels lighter. Your blood sugar is more stable, and your body doesn't feel heavy or tired after meals anymore. Sometimes healing begins in the simplest and most unexpected ways. 2. Add lentils or chickpeas. When cooking rice, after more than 3 decades working with patients over 50, I've realized something very clear as we get older. Our bodies need foods that are quiet, gentle, but work really hard inside our digestive system. And one of the little secrets I love to share, it sounds a bit unusual, but it's surprisingly effective, is adding a bit of lentils or chickpeas to your rice while cooking. I remember Mr. Tom, 72 years old, telling me, David, I just added 1 spoon of beans and my post-meal blood sugar dropped nearly 30 points. I thought it was just a coincidence, but it wasn't a coincidence. It's science, and it's the brilliance of our bodies at work. Lentils and chickpeas are rich in a type of soluble fiber I jokingly call a natural brake. It slows down the absorption of starch from rice, giving your body more time to handle sugar. This is especially important for older adults who often face sudden spikes in blood sugar after meals. A Harvard study even showed that adding just 10 to 15% of beans to your rice can reduce post-meal blood sugar by 28 to 35 for numbers that even some medications can't always match if we eat the wrong way. What I love most about this hack is how gentle it is. You just add 1 to 2 tablespoons of cooked lentils or chickpeas when the rice is almost done. The beans soften, blend in with the rice, barely changing the flavor. But your body notices immediately a lighter stomach, easier digestion, slower rise in blood sugar. Sometimes just a small, thoughtful tweak like this can turn an ordinary meal into something that quietly makes you healthier every day. Add a spoon of vinegar to your rice water. You know, sometimes the smallest changes in the kitchen can make the biggest difference for your health. And the little trick I'm about to share with you, just a single spoon of vinegar, has helped so many of my patients keep their blood sugar more stable without giving up their warm, comforting bowl of rice. I remember one patient, Margaret, 68 years old. She once told me, "David, I've eaten rice my whole life. Don't make me give it up." I'd be so sad. And I understood her completely. Rice isn't just food, it's emotion, it's habit, it's family dinners. So I simply told her, no need to give it up. Just add a tiny spoon. Vinegar especially, apple cider vinegar or brown rice vinegar contains acetic acid, a compound that slows down the conversion of starch into sugar. In other words, it helps your body breathe slower after a meal. A study from Johns Hopkins even showed that just a little vinegar in your rice water can lower the glycemic index of rice by up to 31%. Sounds simple, right? But science is often beautiful in its simplicity. The method is easy. When you cook rice, just add 1 tablespoon of vinegar to the water. The rice won't taste sour. It won't change the flavor. Honestly, if you didn't say anything, no one would notice. And if you have a sensitive stomach, start very gently, just 1 teaspoon, and let your body adapt slowly. We can't turn back the clock, but we can always choose smarter ways to live with it. One tiny drop of change sometimes is all it takes to save an entire day of peaceful blood sugar. 4. Mix a small amount of oats into your rice. Sometimes health doesn't change because of big decisions, but because of the tiny things we often overlook. And one of those small things is just a spoonful of oats mixed into your pot of rice. Sounds a bit strange, right? But over many years working with pre-diabetic and type 2 diabetic patients, I discovered a fascinating little formula. Just add 5 to 7% oats, a small enough amount that you barely notice it, but your body definitely does. Oats contain beta-glucan, a type of soluble fiber that I like to jokingly call the gentle shield for your blood sugar. It slows down how your body absorbs starch, preventing those sudden spikes in blood sugar after meals. In fact, research from the NIH shows that this simple trick can reduce post-meal blood sugar by up to 43%. And that's no small number for such a tiny change. The method is surprisingly simple. When you cook about 1 cup of rice, roughly 150 grams, just mix in 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of rolled oats or steel-cut oats. Don't use instant oats. They've been processed too much and no longer have the structure that benefits blood sugar. When the rice is done, it's still fragrant, still soft, still the familiar meal you've enjoyed your whole life. But inside it, there's a quiet, gentle change, one that's incredibly good for you. I often tell my patients as we age, we slow down, we grow wiser, and we learn to appreciate the small things. And sometimes good health doesn't require a big revolution, just 1 spoonful of oats. That's all, yet enough for your body to thank you every single day. 5. Add turmeric to your rice after cooking. And then there's one more tip I really love. A tip that carries a sense of warmth, literally. It's about adding a little turmeric to your rice after it's cooked. I've met so many older patients who complain about slow digestion, feeling bloated after meals, or blood sugar spiking even when they don't eat much. And often just a tiny pinch of turmeric brings a change they never expected. Turmeric contains curcumin, a compound scientists often call the golden warrior for health. It helps reduce inflammation in the gut, makes your body more sensitive to insulin, and gently supports digestion. There's a 10-year study, I've referenced it countless times, showing curcumin can improve insulin resistance by 23%. That alone is enough for me to always keep a jar of turmeric in my kitchen. The process is charmingly simple. Once your rice is cooked, just sprinkle 1-2 small pinches of turmeric, mix it in, and let it blend with the warmth of the rice. Don't use curry powder. It often has salt and additives, and we don't need that. Just pure turmeric, rustic and natural as it's been used by humans for thousands of years. Of course, if you have gallbladder issues or are on blood thinners, check with your doctor first. I always remind my patients, even a small tip requires a bit of caution because everybody has its own story. But if you can give it a try, just a pinch of turmeric. Sometimes the smallest things help us live more comfortably with every meal, every day, every breath. Before you start applying these little tricks, I want to take a moment to talk about some important notes because sometimes what seems simple still requires a bit of caution, especially once we've crossed 50 or 60. First, don't rush to try all the tips at once. Each one, soaking rice, adding beans, sprinkling turmeric, works in its own way, slowing down carb absorption, increasing fiber, or lowering the glycemic index. Combining too many can make your rice heavy to digest or cause bloating. Pick one or two tips per cooking session and take the time to feel how your body responds. If you have stomach issues, acid reflux, or ulcers, be extra careful with vinegar and acidic foods. Even small amounts are usually safe, but starting with just half a teaspoon and watching your body's reaction is the safest approach. When adding oats or beans, avoid instant varieties. They often contain hidden sugars and additives, which can spike blood sugar quickly. Stick to rolled or steel-cut oats and naturally boiled beans, simple and wholesome, just the way your body needs. Those with gallbladder or liver issues should also be mindful with turmeric, since curcumin stimulates bile production. Use very small amounts or check with your doctor first. No matter which tip you try, don't overeat rice. These tricks help lower the GI, but total carbs still matter. About a third to half a cup per meal is usually enough. Finally, observe your body, test your blood sugar after the first meal to see which tips really work for you. And if you experience bloating from beans or oats, don't worry, it's normal. Reduce the amount and gradually increase each week. With whole grain rice, chew well, soak softly, and eat slowly. Sometimes it's these small details that make the biggest difference for your health. Small changes in your daily meals, a pinch of turmeric, a few spoonfuls of oats, a bit of beans, may seem simple, but they can stabilize blood sugar and improve digestion, especially after 50. Health isn't about dramatic leaps. It's about thoughtful everyday habits. Try each tip, listen to your body, and find what works best for you. If you found this video helpful, share it with your loved ones and subscribe to the channel to explore more practical health tips with me. Age is just a number. What matters is living well, taking control, and enjoying every meal to the fullest.